The sound of sirens tore through the night. Neighbors crowded outside Maria's small house in the township, their faces pale with fear. The ambulance doors swung open as paramedics rushed in. Inside, Maria laid on the floor, screaming in unbearable pain, her skin burned and peeling. My son did this," she cried, her voice breaking every heart that heard it. Gasps filled the air. People could not believe what she was saying. A billionaire, her own flesh and blood, had done this. Nobody could understand. But the truth stretched far back into years of sacrifice and betrayal. Maria's story began long before this night. She was a poor washerwoman in the township. Every day she bent over dirty basins filled with clothes, scrubbing until her hands blistered. She carried loads in the market, cleaned rich people's houses, and worked herself to the bone. But she never complained. She had only one reason to endure it all: her son, Daniel. Her husband had died when Daniel was only a baby, leaving her alone to raise him. She promised herself she would give him the life she never had, even if it meant she ate nothing. Daniel would eat. Even if she wore rags, Daniel would wear shoes. Daniel grew up watching his mother's struggles. Sometimes, at night, he would hear her weeping softly, thinking he was asleep. "Mama," he once told her, "when I grow up, I will buy you a mansion. You will never cry again." Those words kept Maria alive. She believed Daniel would be her crown. At the town school, Daniel was brilliant. Teachers loved him. Neighbors praised him. He was the pride of the township. Soon, he won a scholarship to a top university in the city. Maria danced the day he left, wiping tears with the corner of her wrapper. "My son, don't forget me," she whispered, hugging him tightly. At first, Daniel called often. He told his mother about classes, about his dream, about the new world he was discovering. Maria would sit by the small radio in her room, smiling with pride as she listened to his voice. But slowly, the calls grew fewer. Weeks would pass without a word. Maria worried, but she told herself he was just busy. In the city, Daniel faced a different life. His roommates laughed at his background. They mocked the way he dressed, the way he spoke. They laughed when they heard his mother was a washerwoman. Some mocked his mother's torn clothes when she visited him. Slowly, shame began to creep into his heart. He stopped telling people where he came from. And then, Daniel met Anita. Anita was beautiful, with skin as smooth as glass and a voice that could melt any man's heart. The kind of beauty that silences a room. She came from wealth, walked with pride, and wore luxury like a second skin. Daniel was enchanted from the moment he saw her, but Anita despised poverty. She wanted a man with status, not shame. Daniel, eager to win her love, began to bury his roots deeper into the shadows. Daniel fell in love with Anita so deeply that he could not think straight. He wanted to give her everything, but Anita's eyes often narrowed whenever the topic of his mother came up. One evening, as they sat in Anita's father's mansion, she looked at Daniel coldly and said, "If you truly love me, you must cut ties with that poor woman. How can I marry a man whose mother still lives in a broken house in the township?" Daniel froze. "But Anita, that poor woman is my mother. She suffered for me. Without her, I wouldn't even be here." Anita scoffed. "Love is sacrifice, Daniel. If you want to keep me, prove to me that you belong in my world. I can't live with the shame of a beggar as my mother-in-law." Daniel's heart shook. He loved his mother, but he also loved Anita. That night, he could not sleep. Maria had called him, telling him she was proud of him. But instead of joy, Daniel felt anger. The poison Anita planted in his mind grew with each passing day. Soon, he began to avoid his mother's calls. He stopped sending her money. Maria, confused and heartbroken, wondered why her son had changed so suddenly. But one day, she decided to visit him in the city. When Maria arrived at his office, dressed in her old wrapper and slippers, the receptionist looked at her with disgust. "Who are you looking for, old woman?" "I am Daniel's mother," Maria said proudly. The receptionist almost laughed. She picked up the phone and called Daniel. When Daniel saw his mother sitting there in her worn clothes, shame burned his face. Anita was visiting that same day, and Daniel feared she would see his mother. So he made a decision that would haunt him forever. Daniel quickly stood up and dragged Maria outside. "Mama, why are you here? Didn't I tell you not to come to my office?" Maria's eyes filled with tears. "My son, forgive me. I only came to see you. I missed you." But Daniel's face was hard. He looked around to make sure no one was watching. "Mama, don't ever come here again, no. You are embarrassing me now." Those words stabbed Maria's heart like a knife. She held his hand. "Daniel, my son, do not forget where you came from. Even a tree does not forget its roots." But Daniel shook her off and walked away, leaving her standing in the scorching sun. That evening, Maria returned to her small house in the township, weeping. She prayed, "God, do not let my son forget me completely." But Anita's shadow grew stronger. She mocked Daniel that night. "See, even when I warned you, your mother still found her way here. Do you want me to marry into shame?" Daniel felt trapped. His love for Anita blinded him. He was willing to do anything to keep her, and Anita knew it. One evening, Anita whispered something into Daniel's ear, something so shocking that even Daniel's blood ran cold. "If you want to keep me forever," she said with a wicked smile, "you must prove it by cutting your mother out of your life completely. Do something that shows me you are no longer tied to her poverty." Daniel's heart pounded. He asked, "What do you mean by that?" Anita leaned close, her eyes glittering with evil. "You will know soon." Daniel could not sleep that night. Anita's words echoed in his ears. "Cut your mother out completely. Do something to prove it." He tossed on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Maria's face appeared in his mind, the face of the woman who once carried him on her back through rain and sun, who starved so he could eat. But when he thought of Anita, he saw beauty, status, and power. His heart was torn in two. The next morning, Anita came to his office. She leaned on his chair, stroking his arms gently. "Daniel, I am the best thing that has happened to you. You cannot let a poor old woman destroy what we have. I need you to prove your love to me." Daniel swallowed hard. "Anita, she is my mother." Anita cut him short. "Then choose, her or me." Daniel's breath caught in his chest. "Don't make me choose." Anita stood up, her eyes cold. "Then this is the end." She walked out of his office, leaving him broken. Daniel ran after her, begging, but Anita did not look back. That night, he drank until his head spun. By morning, his mind had been poisoned enough to believe that Anita was right. His mother was the obstacle between him and the life he wanted. And then, the devil whispered the final thought into his heart. Weeks passed. Maria, still confused about her son's behavior, decided to visit him again. She carried a small pot of soup she had prepared with the last of her money, hoping Daniel would at least sit down to eat with her. When she knocked on his door, it was Anita who opened. Anita's eyes blazed with hatred. "What are you doing here again, old woman?" Maria smiled weakly. "I only came to see my son. Please, is he inside?" Anita hissed. "You will never stop, will you? You are a shame, Maria. A disgrace. Can't you see Daniel belongs to me now? You are nothing." Maria's hands trembled. "I am his mother. No matter what, I am his mother." Anita leaned close and whispered, "Not for long." Daniel appeared behind Anita. His face was hard, his jaw tight. Maria stretched her hand towards him. "My son." But Daniel pushed her hand away. "Mama, leave. Don't come here again." Maria gasped. "Daniel." You are pushing me away because of this woman. Anita smiled cruelly, watching the pain in Maria's eyes. Maria's tears fell onto the ground. Daniel, remember this. Tears of a mother do not fall in vain. She turned and walked away, her heart shattering. Anita turned to Daniel. You see, she will never stop disturbing us unless you do something permanent. She will always be a problem. And that was the night Anita's wicked idea finally became Daniel's dark plan. Daniel bought a small bottle the next day, a bottle that contains a clear, dangerous liquid, acid. He placed it in his drawer, his hands shaking. He could not believe what he was about to do, but Anita's voice was stronger than his conscience. The plan was simple. When his mother came next, he would do the unthinkable. That would silence her forever, and Anita would finally be satisfied. But deep inside, Daniel's heart was screaming. When Maria came days later, she knocked softly, holding a small Bible in her hand. She had been praying for her son every night. Daniel opened the door. His mother smiled at him with tears of joy. Daniel, my son, I missed you. I brought you blessings. Daniel's hand shook as he held the bottle hidden behind his back. His eyes darted to Anita, who was standing by the windows, arms folded, watching. She nodded at him coldly, signaling him to go ahead. Maria stepped forward to hug him. My son! And then, with a trembling hand, Daniel lifted the bottle and poured its contents on her. A scream tore through the room. Mama's cry shook the walls. Her face burned, her skin peeling as she fell to the ground, written in pains. Anita's lips curved into a wicked smile. Daniel dropped the bottle, his chest pounding. He stared at his mother rolling on the floor in agony, and for the first time in his life, he felt like the devil's hands were inside him. Neighbors rushed in. Some screamed. Others tried to help, but Maria's wailing pierced the night. And as the ambulance carried her away, Daniel realized what he had done could never be undone. News spread across the township like wildfire. The billionaire poured acid on his own mother. People cursed his name. They spat when they mentioned him. Maria, lying in the hospital, could barely see again. Her once beautiful face was scarred beyond recognition, but she whispered prayers even in her pain. God, forgive my son. He does not know what he has done. Daniel visited the hospital once, but when he saw his mother's face, guilt almost killed him. She tried to lift her hand to touch him, but he fled the room in tears. Anita, on the other hand, celebrated. We are free, she said, pouring herself a glass of wine. But freedom does not come from wickedness. Daniel's businesses began to crumble. Contracts were cancelled. Partners withdrew. The public turned against him. His wealth started to vanish like smoke in the wind. And Anita, she began to grow distant. One evening, Daniel returned home and found Anita packing her bags. Where are you going? He asked in panic. Anita smirked. Do you think I would spend my life with a man hated by the whole world? You are finished, Daniel. Goodbye. She walked out, leaving him with nothing but silence. Daniel fell to his knees, tears flooding his face. He had destroyed his mother for the love of a woman, and now the woman was gone. But the worst was yet to come. The news of Daniel's wickedness spread beyond the township. Newspapers carried the headline, Billionaire burns his own mother. Television stations debated his cruelty. His mansion became a prison of shame. Strangers spat when he drove past. His name, once spoken with pride, now carried disgust. Maria, lying in the hospital beds with bandages wrapped around her face, whispered prayers. Nurses wondered why she prayed for the very son who had destroyed her life. Because, she said softly, a mother's heart never stops loving. Daniel stopped going out. His businesses collapsed one after another. Friends abandoned him. His once powerful name became a curse. At night, he saw his mother's burning face in his dreams. He woke up sweating, hearing her scream echo in his head. One evening, drunk and broken, he smashed everything in his house. Anita! Anita, he cried, but Anita was gone forever. Daniel fell on the floor, clutching his chest. What have I done? What have I done? But the walls gave him no answer. Meanwhile, Maria was discharged from the hospital. Though her face was scarred, her spirit still shone. Neighbors pitied her. Some gave her food, others money. She never cursed her son, even when people urged her to. God is the judge, she said. One rainy evening, Daniel appeared at a small house. He wore a torn shirt, his hair rough, his face hollow. When Maria opened the door, she froze. "Daniel," she whispered. Her son fell on his knees. "Mama, forgive me. I destroyed you. I destroyed myself. I thought I was wise, but I was the biggest fool alive. Forgive me." His tears fell like rain on the dusty floor. Maria's eyes filled with tears. Her heart, though scared, still beat for her child. She knelt beside him and touched his head gently. "My son, I forgive you. Even before you asked, I forgave you. But remember, no man who forgets his mother ever finds peace." Daniel wept loudly in her arms. For the first time in months, he felt something break inside him. His pride. But forgiveness does not erase the scars. Days passed. Daniel tried to rebuild his life, but the world had already sentenced him. No bank wanted him. No business trusted him. Even beggars refused his money. He had become a ghost in the city where he once ruled. One afternoon, he wandered the streets aimlessly, hearing voices of gossip. "That's the man who poured acid on his mother." Children pointed, women hissed, men shook their heads. As he walked by the streets, he thought out loud to himself, "If you can forgive me like Mama did, give me just one more chance to live like a human again." But as he wailed, his chest grew heavy. Pain shot through his heart. The pain he bore in his heart was too much for him to carry, and so his heart failed him. He collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. People rushed forward, but it was too late. Daniel, the billionaire who traded his mother's love for wealth and a woman's lies, lay lifeless on the streets. When the news of his death reached Maria, she fell on the ground and let out a loud scream that shook the entire city walls. Uncontrollable stream of tears rolled down her scared face as she wailed. She clutched her Bible and whispered, "God, into your hands I give my son." At his burial, few people came. No dignitaries, no business partners. Only Maria sat by the grave praying, "Let his soul find peace, O Lord. For what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" The wind blew softly, carrying her words away. And in that lonely cemetery, one truth remained unshaken. A mother's love endures, even when the world turns to ashes. Dear beloved viewers, what lessons did you learn from this dramatic story? Leave a comment below as we would like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share this video, and also make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notification so you don't miss out on our next interesting story just like this one. We love you. Remain blessed.